It just continues to go higher. It is opening at a $5 trillion market cap. The share's trading for $207.88, up another 3.4%. This after President Trump said he'll discuss Blackwell chips, which he called super duper, with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. The CEO, Jensen Huang, expects sales now to top $500 billion in 2026. And as Ed Ludlow told us, that's without factoring in any Chinese sales at all. A big donut for China. So if those talks go well, the sky's the limit here. Wang also told Bloomberg he doesn't see artificial intelligence in a bubble.
I don't believe we're in an AI bubble. And the reason for that is we're going through a natural transition from an old computing model based on general purpose computing to accelerated computing. We also know that AI has now become good enough because of reasoning capability, research capabilities, its ability to think. It's now generating tokens and now generating intelligence that's worth paying for.
So Bloomberg Tech co-host Caroline Hyde joins us now, and that's really not news. I mean, that's NSS, right? Jensen Huang, obviously.
I have to explain NSS on your LinkedIn or on your X profiles later.
I mean, just check out NINSS on the Bloomberg terminal, and you'll understand. It would be news if he said they were in a bubble, but clearly Jensen Huang isn't going to say that.
And look, others have been saying maybe we're in a bubble. Look, Sam Altman himself has said he thinks we're in some sort of AI bubble. Bill Gates added to that chorus yesterday on other networks saying he thinks we're in an AI bubble. Some will be winners. Some will not be paying off for the amount that they're currently spending. But what we're seeing at the moment is that a few key companies are deemed the winners of this entire super cycle. NVIDIA, the main one, $5 trillion. It's up 50% year to date. It is therefore, thank you, S&P 500 run, because it's making up a fifth of the entire gains of this year. $5 trillion is extraordinary considering it was only 4 months ago. It hit $4 trillion. But now we see the other players coming out, and the CapEx story is going to be so important. After the bell, you're going to hear from Alphabet. We know they raised last quarter to $85 billion per year in terms of capital expenditures. But that's going on things like NVIDIA chips. You're going to be hearing from Meta, which in itself is becoming a hyperscaler of choice in many ways. It's about compute, where is their capital expenditure going? And then you've got Microsoft, the juggernaut that Bloomberg Intelligence thinks is going to raise it all the way to $130 billion for their next fiscal year for capital expenditure. That's about the entire value of their OpenAI stake as well. But we're seeing just the amount of money flow in because for now, the revenues are also rising. The money is being generated for these particular companies.
I mean, just looking at SPLC on NVIDIA, Microsoft
Supply
alone,
chain, folks, SPLC,
yes,
for those not lucky enough to have a terminal.
Okay, if you look at the supply chain for NVIDIA, a much better way to say it, Microsoft has 19% of NVIDIA's revenue.
Wow.
I mean, doesn't today also just underscores, yes, NVIDIA has all this promise, but it's concentrated. It's a few bets on just the hyperscalers that they'll keep spending.
And I think that is why what Jensen Huang on stage was really trying to show. The point is he's doing deals everywhere. He's going into Europe. They're getting all these other neo clouds. Think of the Nebius deals that are being done. Well, Nebius gets its chips from NVIDIA and they eventually then go to Microsoft because Microsoft's buying extra cloud from other players because it just can't build enough itself. You're seeing that with Nscale in Europe. But think about the deals that have just been done with NVIDIA trying to broaden its remit, showing that they're going to be in the world of 5G, 6G. They're going to be doing deals with Nokia. You've been hearing them do it with Deutsche Telekom in Germany for more data centers. He's really trying to show that, I am bigger than the sum of just these few hyperscalers. But you're right, at the moment, the revenue is super concentrated. But you can only build cloud with companies of certain scale and size, it feels like.
All right. It's a fascinating story that we'll continue to tell, I'm sure, for years, and we'll watch your program for it as well.
There have been several rocket ships this year, especially in the context of what April looked like. I know you're going to start out with a short-term look. You've got a 20-day chart. What are you noticing about this as it relates to NVIDIA?
Yeah, certainly, Diane. We're seeing a little bit of that rocket ship on the short term. So really looking at the last 20 days of trading, so the last month, and even from October 10th to just yesterday, so for the last 2 weeks, NVIDIA really crafted out a bullish basing pattern, really showing accumulation in the name in the short term. And I took Fibonacci retracements from highs to lows to forecast some resistance levels. And really that 161.8 retracement level was just met in this last couple hours of trading. And I mean, really right around 207, which will really act as that nearest measure of support. And then that 161.8 retracement is typically where we see some profit taking. So if we do break support, traders may look at the next lower fib at the 138.2 around 203. But if we see continued momentum to the upside, like the RSI down below suggests, really confirming this move, we may see bulls push up to the 200% level of that breakout, really near 215 or so.
Okay, all right. So when I led into this segment, I talked about year to date, but you've got a 1 year performance. What do you notice when you look at that?
Yep, so 1 year performance, NVIDIA is really trading in a $20 range really since mid-July before having that false breakout on October 10th with that bearish engulfing candlestick that really pushed the price below former resistance once again. And now we've seen a breakout in the leader as it approaches that $5 trillion valuation as it gapped up out of that range. And just on a closing basis the last 2 days, NVIDIA has really seen nearly an 8% gain. And I mean, even though it battled with that range, it still held on to that ascending trend line, really showing that despite the range, it was still making higher highs and higher lows, which is obviously the characteristics of an uptrend that hasn't been broken. So now the trend is a trader's friend, but even with this breakout to new highs, that $5 trillion valuation on the horizon, it is showing a little bit of weakening relative strength to the overall sector of information technology, suggesting that there may be a little bit of rotation out of this name into some other areas of the tech space to find alpha. So that's kind of the only thing that I'm seeing that may contradict that upside momentum.
All right. Thank you, Rachel, for the deep dive into that chart for NVIDIA, set to become a $5 trillion company potentially today.
A lot of ground to cover when it comes to NVIDIA over the last few days. Just run us through some of the developments and the headlines that you're seeing as to why we're seeing this jump in the stock today, Marley.
Hi, good morning to you, Sam. Great to be with you in D.C. remotely. Lots of headlines to talk about here. First, you mentioned the important one, the biggest one of all, is that they're the first company ever to hit a $5 trillion market cap on some of these major headlines, most of them coming out of GTC Washington, like you mentioned. So let's start with them. The Nokia, this is a big one. They're taking a $1 billion stake in Nokia, forming a strategic partnership with the networking company to develop a next generation 6G cellular technology. This transaction will also see NVIDIA become a nearly 3% shareholder of Nokia. And they've also agreed to collaborate on AI networking solutions and explore opportunities to incorporate Nokia's data center switching and optical technologies in NVIDIA's future AI infrastructure architecture. So that could be a big thing for Nokia specifically. Their shares closed up more than 23% yesterday at close. Also unveiling a lot of different supercomputer news and quantum computing news. So let's go through those headlines. They're announcing NVQ Link, which is a new system from NVIDIA that links the powerful GPUs with quantum processors to build hybrid quantum supercomputers. NVIDIA says it's partnering with 17 different quantum developers and 9 national labs to make this the standard for future scientific systems. CEO Jensen Huang calling NVQ Link at the conference yesterday the Rosetta Stone of computing, saying it will connect classical and quantum power to expand what is possible. And there's a lot more computer news. NVIDIA and Oracle teaming up with the government on AI supercomputers. They're working with the Department of Energy to build some of America's most powerful AI supercomputers. The projects right now are called Solstice and Equinox. They'll use up to 100,000 of NVIDIA's newest Blackwell GPUs to accelerate scientific research at Argonne and Los Alamos labs. Jensen Huang saying it's our generation's Apollo moment for this one. Eli Lilly also teaming up with NVIDIA on an AI supercomputer, this time for drug discovery. Eli Lilly's building the most powerful AI supercomputer in the industry, the healthcare space, powered by more than 1,000 of NVIDIA's latest GPUs. That system will help scientists test millions of drug combinations faster and also improve disease modeling. They'll be able to have advanced imaging and simulation tools. The companies together saying that this development process could speed up the entire drug creation process from discovery to production, so potentially getting it to market and helping to save and help people faster. In addition to this, we've got Hewlett-Packard Enterprises partnering with NVIDIA to deliver 2 next-gen supercomputers, this time also for the Department of Energy. These 2 called Mission and Vision. These systems will be powered by the upcoming Vera Rubin superchips, and they will help drive advances in AI, scientific discovery, recovery and national security. And also partnering with Palantir. They've got to blend Palantir's data analytics system with NVIDIA's accelerated computing. That goal is to help healthcare, finance, and the defense sector, where Palantir really shines, to deploy smarter, context-aware AI agents. Also partnering with Uber and Joby Aviation for autonomous robotaxis and autonomous flights. CrowdStrike to extend AI partnerships for cybersecurity. And Cisco is launching a new data center switch build with NVIDIA's Spectrum X technology. That's the first of its kind from an NVIDIA partner for a data center build. So many headlines, Sam, to get through. So much big news, but all in the positive for NVIDIA. Shares up more than 5% this morning.
Yeah, and I mean, I suppose it helps that Jensen Huang is also going to be meeting with Trump expectedly, not here in D.C., on the other side of the world in South Korea, where he's also expected to meet with local executives of huge companies over there as well. He's thinking Samsung, Hyundai, also SK Hynix, which just came out with record earnings overnight as well. So it really is all happening. Not to mention that Trump has also said that maybe the Blackwell chip could be back on the table as far as conversations with China. I don't know if there was any overhang on this stock, given the parabolic move we've seen, but maybe some of that has been removed as well. But thank you so much for that, Marley Kate, and I will check in with you a little bit later on Market on Close. Let's trade it now with Scott Bauer, CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. Scott, with all of that in mind, how are you approaching your example trade for NVIDIA?
Listen, I absolutely love NVIDIA, and I believe this is a stock that you just need to hold in your portfolio forever. It is tradable. Absolutely, it's tradable. And, it's been on this massive trajectory. But for now, I believe there is just way too much exuberance, in my opinion, on this move up. Once we broke 200, it was kind of, this psychological number that a lot of FOMO out there, people jumping in. Mm-hmm. So for a very short-term trade, not for, for holding in a portfolio, but for a very short-term trade, I'm buying a put spread, and I'm going out just a couple weeks because I want to have this position on that expires before earnings. So I'm going out to the November 14th, so a couple weeks expiration. I'm just buying a simple put spread, the 205-195 put spread, paying around $3 for that. Now, why am I, buying that? Why do I think that NVIDIA is going down? Because I just think that there's a big overreaction here. The psychology in the marketplace, too much FOMO. Again, longer term, love the stock. Don't ever want to be short it, but for a short-term trade, I'm buying this put spread.
Okay, perhaps a bit of FOMO here. A lot of it has been priced in at this point. But, Jensen Huang has also been quite upfront and open about the fact that, while China is very much lagging the US as far as AI is concerned, they are ahead in energy. And this could be a constraint for some of the data center ambitions that we have here domestically. But just parking NVIDIA there for a minute, Scott, just want your overall thoughts on the market action today ahead of what is going to be a very big day with the FOMC decision out at 2:30. We'll be hearing Eastern, and then also, of course, we've got Google, Microsoft, and Meta up.
Absolutely, and I don't want to say there's too much exuberance in the marketplace. I mean, there's a lot of good that's happening. Earnings, across the board have been, for the most part, really good. I think that we may expect a little disappointment from the Fed. And what do I mean by that? Yes, they're going to cut today. Yes, their outlook is more than likely going to be for another cut in December. In fact, the market's pricing in over a 90% probability of that. I think we've just gotten too far ahead of ourselves from the Fed perspective, and it's really going to come down to earnings. So, regardless of what Powell says today, I think we're going to have some of that exuberance just removed from the marketplace. So I'd be a little bit cautious ahead of that. But you know what? At the end of the day, and at the end of the trading day today, like you said, we've got those big three earnings with two more tomorrow. That really is going to be, where the direction of the marketplace is headed.
Yep, and throw a Trump-Xi meeting in the middle of all of
appetite, and whether you see any reason to be bearish right now. President Trump's talking positively about the trade deal he wants to do with China. There's a lot of excitement, should we put it that way, around tech stocks. NVIDIA in focus, all of the tech earnings. Do you see any reasons to be bearish?
there are no fundamental reasons to be bearish right now. What I mean by that is we're about to get another Fed cut. We're getting trade deals promised all over the case. We're getting, generally growth is kind of holding up okay. Earnings stories is good. Everything is positive. Now, I guess the reason people are worried is because we all know that. It's all priced. And I think that, valuations are expensive, but valuations are never a reason to be bearish in isolation. And the fact it's all priced maybe means you don't want to be bullish anymore because it's already fully priced. But it's not a reason to be bearish. You've got to wait for that negative catalyst, and there's not one just now.
Well, Mark, maybe push ahead to it for us if you can when it comes to that Federal Reserve decision. If everything is going well, what could Jay Powell say to shake this market?
Theoretically, I mean, if he was super hawkish, yeah, it would upset the market a little bit. But I just don't see how the Fed is going to be much of an event at all. Look, you two both know that I think the ECB is always boring, or almost always boring. The Fed is normally really interesting. Today's Fed is super boring because there's no data for them to provide an updated view on. We get no dot plot, we get no updated forecast. Powell can't really say much. The most controversial thing he's going to say is, he's going to get a question about the shutdown, and maybe he might kind of err in how he phrases things. But he's a super experienced communicator. Jerome Powell is good at his job in terms of communicating clearly and not stepping over the line. So I don't think he's going to say anything too controversial. But he's going to have to say that he can't provide much forward guidance. They just don't have certainty. So I don't expect him to be, overly hawkish or dovish, which means market pricing will stay roughly the same, expecting another cut in December. People are trying to get excited about the end of QT because they've got nothing else to get excited about. Of course QT is going to end. Sure, there's a little bit of nuance exactly which month and the composition of how it ends, but it's really not exciting. It's people trying to generate excitement because they've got nothing else to look at.
Okay, well, let's try and talk about volatility, shall we? 2025, we've seen lots of news headlines, and they've driven some volatility in specific asset classes for short periods, but not necessarily for very long, Mark. Do you see a return to volatility? Is that possible to predict?
No, I think it's going to be a kind of a sustaining of what you've just outlined there, and I think we're going to have some more big dips in the weeks ahead. As I outlined, everything's bullish at the moment, but it's priced super bullishly, which means just one thing falters. Trade talks disrupt, the Fed manages to upset, something goes wrong and growth, some earnings upset. We'll get a powerful dip because of how things are priced. But with all the other drivers still positive, it'll just be a dip, and that's important. The backdrop is still positive.